If your job keeps growing but you stay the same, something's off, and deep down you know it. Most people spend years working harder at their job than they ever do on themselves. They give all their time, all their energy, all their focus, and when the day ends, they feel empty. Not because they didn't work hard, but because they didn't grow. You wake up, answer emails, hit deadlines, please others, and somewhere in that loop, you start fading. This isn't about quitting your job, it's about not quitting yourself. You deserve to feel progress in your life, not just in your paycheck, but in your confidence, your peace, your habits, and your mindset. This chapter will help you shift the focus back where it belongs on you. Because the truth is simple. If you stop growing, nothing else you're chasing will ever feel enough. Chapter 1. Choose growth when fear tells you stop. Fear has a way of making good people stop. It makes talented people doubt their worth. It convinces the dreamers that what they want is too far out of reach. You know that voice, the one that says, "What if you fail? What if people laugh? What if you lose what you already have?" That voice is fear. And every single time you give in to it, you trade your potential for safety. You give up your future for a little comfort in the moment. Growth never happens in safety. Growth happens when you feel uncomfortable, unsure, and nervous, yet you take another step anyway. It happens when you choose to keep going, even when fear whispers, "Stop." Most people don't realize that fear isn't a stop sign, it's a signal. It's your mind telling you that you're stepping into something new. And that's exactly where life changes, in the new, the unknown, the uncomfortable. Fear is not your enemy. It's a natural part of being human. The problem is when you start obeying it. Fear can make you believe that staying the same is the best option. It tells you to stick with what you know, the same job, the same routine, the same comfort zone, because at least there you won't get hurt. But that's not living. That's just existing. Real living starts when you decide that your future matters more than your fears. When you prioritize personal growth over your job, you start asking yourself a different kind of question. You stop asking, "What if I fail?" And you start asking, "What if I never try?" That question stings a little, because deep down, you know the truth. Not trying hurts more than failing ever could. Regret is heavier than risk. Fear keeps you stuck, but regret keeps you awake at night, wondering what could have been. Every person who's ever built something meaningful faced fear. They didn't feel brave every moment. They just decided that fear wasn't going to be the one making their choices. Courage doesn't mean you don't feel afraid. Courage means you move forward even though you feel it. That's the difference between those who grow and those who stay the same. If you want to grow, you have to do things that stretch you. You have to have conversations that make you nervous. You have to learn skills that frustrate you. You have to start things that might not work right away. Growth isn't glamorous. It's often quiet and uncomfortable. But that's where your confidence is built. That's where you develop the strength to handle more, to become more, to achieve more. Fear says, "You can't handle it." Growth says, "You can learn how." And learning how is where all the power lies. When you choose growth, you're telling yourself, "I'm willing to learn what I don't know. I'm willing to fail and try again. I'm willing to get better." That mindset turns ordinary people into leaders, into creators, into examples. Many people make their job their identity. They say, "This is who I am." But what happens when that job changes? What happens when the company closes or the position ends? If your entire worth is tied to your job, you lose yourself when the job goes away. Personal growth protects you from that. When you focus on growing as a person, learning new skills, building emotional strength, improving your communication, managing your time, taking care of your health, you become someone who can succeed anywhere. You become adaptable. You become valuable, not because of your title, but because of your mindset. Fear makes you think your security comes from your job. Growth teaches you that your security comes from your ability to grow, to learn, to adapt, and to rebuild if needed. A person who grows is never truly stuck. Even when they lose something, they know they can rise again because their strength doesn't depend on what they have. It depends on who they've become. When fear tells you to stop, that's exactly the moment you should take one more step, because that step, right there, is where you break through. Most people quit one step before the change happens. They stop just before the growth begins to show. But the people who push through, the ones who say, "I'll take another step even if I'm scared," they find out that fear loses its power once you face it. You have to remember that fear fades the moment you take action. The mind calms down when the body moves. Thinking about doing something is where fear grows. Doing it is where it dies. The first time you try something new, your heart races. The second time, it feels easier. By the 10th time, it feels normal. That's how growth works. It turns the things that once scared you into things you now handle with ease. You don't have to take giant steps. You just have to take real ones. Small, consistent actions toward growth every day build a life that fear can't control. Read a book that challenges your thinking. Start a conversation with someone who inspires you. Set a goal that forces you to stretch. Wake up early and work on something that matters to you. These small choices compound into a powerful life. The truth is, most fears never come true. The worst-case scenario you imagine is usually a lot worse in your head than in real life. But even if things don't go perfectly, you'll come out stronger, smarter, and more capable. And that's what growth gives you, not a life without problems, but the strength to handle them better. Think about how it feels when you overcome something you were once afraid of. There's a quiet pride that comes with that. You walk differently. You speak with more certainty. You trust yourself more. That's what growth does. It builds belief in yourself through real experience. No one can hand that to you. You earn it by doing the hard things that fear tells you not to do. Your job might give you a paycheck, but personal growth gives you purpose. A job can end, but growth lasts a lifetime. It changes how you see yourself, how you think, how you act, and how you treat people. It makes you more aware, more capable, and more fulfilled. When you grow, everything in your life starts to grow with you. Your confidence, your relationships, your opportunities. Fear will always be there. It's not going away, but it doesn't have to lead your life. You can feel fear and still move forward. You can doubt yourself and still act. You can be nervous and still grow. The power is in choosing what matters more, your comfort or your future. And if you truly want a better life, you have to pick your future every single time. Growth is not something you find, it's something you decide. You decide to read instead of scroll. You decide to take the class instead of complain. You decide to speak up instead of stay silent. You decide to take the risk instead of wish you had. Every decision shapes who you become. When you look back one day, you won't remember the moments you played it safe. You'll remember the moments you faced fear and grew. Those are the memories that build pride and peace. Those are the moments that prove to you that you're stronger than your fears. Choosing growth when fear tells you to stop is not easy, but it's worth everything, because each time you do, you become more of the person you were meant to be. You become a person who moves with purpose, who isn't controlled by fear, who keeps growing no matter what happens. And that's a person who can build any future they want. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to choose growth one more time today, then again tomorrow. and again after that. Do that long enough, and one day fear won't recognize you anymore because you'll have grown far beyond its reach. Chapter 2. Train your mind to crave daily progress. Most people wait for motivation to appear before they take action, but that's not how growth works. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. Progress, on the other hand, is built through daily discipline, through the quiet decision to do something today that moves you even 1 inch forward. When your mind learns to crave progress, you stop depending on mood and start depending on habit. That's when change becomes consistent and real. The mind is like a muscle. If you train it to look for excuses, it will find them. If you train it to look for improvement, it will find that too. Each day, you either strengthen the habit of growth or the habit of delay. It's one or the other. Training your mind to crave daily progress means creating a new standard for yourself, one where standing still is no longer acceptable, even in small things. When you make progress a daily goal, you begin to think differently. You start noticing small wins. You start measuring success by effort, not by the size of the outcome. A few pages read, a few minutes exercised, a few ideas written, those little steps. Train your brain to link satisfaction with progress instead of comfort. That's how the shift happens. The more your brain associates growth with reward, the more it seeks it out naturally. At first, your mind will resist. It's used to ease. It's used to finishing work and calling the day done. But growth asks for more. It asks for reflection after effort, learning after results, and awareness after action. The mind doesn't like effort without reward, but that's exactly what builds the habit, showing up, improving slightly, and ending the day knowing you did something better than yesterday. That quiet sense of progress becomes addictive in the best way. Every morning you wake up with two voices in your head. One says, "Stay comfortable." The other says, "Do something that matters." The one you feed the most becomes stronger. If you choose the second voice often enough, it becomes automatic. Soon, your mind starts asking, "What can I improve today?" That's when you know you've trained it. You've taught it that fulfillment comes from growth, not from avoiding effort. Progress doesn't have to be huge. In fact, small, consistent progress is the most powerful kind. When you do something every day, even for 10 minutes, it rewires your mind to expect improvement. That expectation changes everything. You stop needing someone to push you. You begin to push yourself. You feel uneasy when you go a day without learning or building something. That's the mind of a person who's growing restless in comfort, alive in motion. Training your mind to crave progress means being aware of how you spend your time. The average person gives more attention to distractions than to development. Hours go to screens, not skills. Growth requires shifting that balance. Ask yourself at the end of each day, did I learn something today? Did I move forward? When the answer is yes, even in small ways, you sleep better. You rest with pride instead of guilt. That feeling fuels you to do more the next day. People who grow every day aren't special, they're intentional. They know that a strong mind doesn't appear overnight. It's built through repetition, focus, and patience. Just like exercise strengthens your body, daily progress strengthens your mindset. The more you do it, the more resilient and confident you become. You stop being afraid of starting new things because you trust your ability to improve with time. There will be days when you don't feel like doing anything. That's when training matters most. Growth isn't tested on the good days, it's tested when you feel tired, unmotivated, or uncertain. If you still choose to take one small step forward on those days, you're building something deeper than progress. You're building character. You're teaching your mind that commitment matters more than comfort. Daily progress is also about awareness. It's not just doing things, but noticing them. Recognizing your small wins gives your brain proof that you're moving forward. Write them down. Celebrate them quietly. Remind yourself that you're not where you used to be. That sense of progress builds momentum. It reminds you that growth is working even when it feels slow. Your environment matters too. If you spend time with people who don't value growth, your mind will lower its standards to match theirs. Surround yourself with people who talk about ideas, goals, and improvements. Listen to conversations that spark curiosity. Energy is contagious. Make sure the one you catch is progress, not complacency. Training your mind isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming aware of your patterns. Every time you waste a day and feel that quiet frustration, remember, it's your mind signaling that you're capable of more. Use that feeling. Don't hide from it. Channel it into something small but meaningful, an extra workout, a page of writing, a few minutes of learning. That's how you turn dissatisfaction into drive. The reason many people feel stuck is because they've linked progress to big milestones. They wait for promotions, achievements, or recognition before feeling good about themselves. But waiting for external rewards trains your brain to depend on approval. Real growth happens when you create your own approval, when you say, "I'm proud of the effort I gave today." That inner pride becomes your daily fuel. Once your mind gets used to daily growth, it becomes difficult to live without it. You'll start feeling uncomfortable when you waste time. You'll start craving challenge. You'll prefer effort over ease. That's when you know you've shifted your identity from a worker to a learner, from someone who reacts to someone who creates. Every area of your life starts improving because growth is now part of who you are, not just something you do. The real reward of progress isn't what you achieve, it's who you become through the process. You develop patience, focus, and discipline. You learn how to manage your emotions and control your attention. You build trust in yourself. And that trust becomes your foundation. You stop doubting whether you can handle the next challenge because you have proof that you've handled the ones before it. Even your job begins to change when your mindset grows. You stop waiting for opportunities and start creating them. You find ways to learn from every task, every project, every interaction. Instead of asking, "What do I get from this?" you start asking, "What can I learn from this?" That question transforms your work into a daily growth exercise. Suddenly, your job becomes a tool for personal development instead of a trap for survival. Progress builds confidence, and confidence attracts more opportunities. When people see you improving every day, they respect you. They trust your consistency. They see someone who doesn't settle. That kind of person naturally stands out in any environment. But the best part isn't what others see, it's how you feel about yourself. You begin to carry yourself with quiet certainty. You know you're on your way, and that feeling replaces fear with focus. If you want to train your mind to crave progress, start simple. Pick one area: physical health, skill development, mindset, or communication, and improve it by 1% each day. Track it. Notice it. Make it part of your routine. Once your mind experiences the satisfaction of consistent growth, it will seek that feeling on its own. You'll no longer need motivation. Progress itself will drive you. Every person has the power to change the direction of their life, but it starts in the mind. The thoughts you feed it daily become the habits you live by. Feed it progress. Feed it challenge. Feed it purpose. Over time, your mind will begin to expect growth the same way it expects air. That's when life transforms. When daily progress isn't a task, it's a need. The truth is, there's no final destination in growth. There's only today another chance to improve, to learn, to become a little better. And when you string enough of those days together, you'll look back and realize how far you've come. The secret isn't speed, it's consistency. A strong mind doesn't chase perfection. It chases progress every day, without pause, without fear, and without the need for anyone's permission. Chapter 3. Break patterns that keep you feeling stuck. Feeling stuck is one of the hardest experiences in life because it doesn't always look dramatic from the outside. You might be doing everything right, showing up to work, paying bills, maintaining relationships, yet inside you feel like you're standing still. There's this quiet frustration that grows over time, a feeling that you're capable of more but can't seem to move forward. The truth is, being stuck isn't about circumstances, it's about patterns. The thoughts you repeat, the routines you follow, the beliefs you keep, they form invisible walls around your progress. And until you break those patterns, nothing changes. The first step to breaking patterns is awareness. Most people live on autopilot, doing the same things day after day without questioning them. They wake up at the same time, follow the same habits, think the same thoughts, and then wonder why life feels repetitive. If you keep reacting the same way, making the same choices, and avoiding the same risks, you can't expect new results. Change begins when you pause long enough to see the loop you're in. Awareness breaks the illusion that you're powerless. Once you recognize the pattern, you can begin to rewrite it. Ask yourself, what am I doing every day that keeps me where I am? It might be staying silent when you should speak up, avoiding discomfort, saying yes to things that drain you, or spending time around people who keep you small. These actions might feel safe, but they quietly build the trap you're trying to escape. Every time you repeat an unhelpful pattern, you reinforce it. The mind learns quickly. It remembers what feels familiar, even if it's unhealthy. That's why awareness is not enough. You have to replace the pattern with something better. Breaking old patterns requires discomfort. Your mind will fight to protect what it knows, even if what it knows doesn't serve you. That resistance isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's proof that you're disrupting the system. Growth always creates tension before it brings peace. The key is to sit with that tension without running back to what's easy. Every time you resist the pull of old behavior, you weaken its hold on you. If you feel stuck, it means you've outgrown your current way of thinking. You're ready for more, but your habits are holding you back. The same thoughts that got you here can't take you further. You need new inputs, new perspectives, new challenges. Read books that stretch your thinking. Spend time with people who talk about ideas instead of complaints. Try something new that intimidates you. Each small change creates cracks in the old pattern, and those cracks let the light in. One of the strongest patterns that keeps people stuck is comfort. Comfort feels good, but it's deceptive. It gives temporary peace while slowly stealing long-term growth. The longer you stay comfortable, the harder it becomes to move. That's why you must make discomfort a regular part of your life. Challenge yourself intentionally. Try things that make you feel awkward or uncertain. When you do this often enough, your mind starts to see discomfort as normal. It stops holding you back from change. Another pattern that traps people is self-doubt. It's that quiet voice that says, maybe this isn't for you, or you're not ready yet. You listen to that voice enough times, and it becomes truth. But it's not truth, it's habit. You've trained your mind to repeat those words. Breaking that pattern means challenging your own thoughts. When your mind says, I can't, you respond with, I'll learn how. When it says, I'm not ready, you act anyway. Each time you do, you teach yourself a new pattern, one of courage, not avoidance. Your environment shapes your patterns too. If you're surrounded by people who settle, complain, or make excuses, it's easy to mirror them. Humans are wired to fit in, not to stand out. But fitting in often means shrinking your potential to match your surrounding. If you want to grow, you have to step into new environments that demand more from you. Be around people who challenge your standards, who expect growth, who talk about possibilities. Their mindset will begin to rub off on you. It's also important to look at the emotional patterns that hold you. Maybe you always respond to criticism with defensiveness, or you avoid conflict because it feels uncomfortable. These patterns protect your ego, but they stop your growth. When you notice yourself reacting the same way again and again, pause, ask, is this reaction helping me grow or keeping me stuck? That pause gives you power. It interrupts the automatic response and allows you to choose a better one. Sometimes the pattern that keeps you stuck is not action, but inaction. Waiting for the right time, waiting for motivation, waiting for clarity. These are all forms of delay disguised as preparation. You break this pattern by deciding that action itself brings clarity. You learn faster by doing than by overthinking. Start small. Take one concrete step in the direction you've been avoiding. Once you move, momentum builds. The hardest part of any change is the first push. Breaking patterns doesn't mean rejecting everything you've done before. It means separating what's serving you from what's not. Some routines give structure and stability. Others quietly drain your energy. Review your habits with honesty. Ask yourself, what adds value and what keeps you stagnant? You'll be surprised at how many things you do out of repetition, not intention. Replace one unhelpful habit at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself. Real change happens gradually, but it lasts because it's built on awareness, not impulse. Growth requires permission. Permission to start over, to think differently, to redefine yourself. Most people stay stuck because they're afraid of being judged for changing. They worry about how others will react if they begin to act differently. But remember, you don't owe anyone the version of you that keeps you small. You have the right to evolve. You have the right to choose new standards. The people meant for your future will support your growth, not your comfort zone. The human brain loves patterns because they create safety. Predictability feels secure. But too much predictability kills passion. Life becomes dull, repetitive, predictable. That's why we need variety. Trying new experiences wakes the brain up. It forces it to adapt and learn. Even simple things, taking a new route to work, trying a new hobby, talking to someone new, send signals to your brain that life is still expanding. That expansion restores your energy and motivation. If you want to stop feeling stuck, stop telling yourself the same story. The story you repeat becomes your identity. If your story is I'm unlucky, or I'm not good at change, your mind will look for evidence to support it. Change the story. Tell yourself, I'm learning to adapt, or I'm capable of more than I've shown. The story you tell shapes the reality you live. Speak progress into your life until your actions start to reflect it. You'll know you're breaking patterns when things start to feel unfamiliar. That's a good sign. It means you're moving beyond what's comfortable. At first, it feels unstable, even scary. But that's exactly how growth begins. Not with excitement, but with uncertainty. Stay with that feeling. It's the space between who you were and who you're becoming. Most people quit there because they mistake discomfort for failure. It's not failure, it's transformation in progress. Over time, new patterns replace the old ones. Your thoughts become clearer, your choices stronger, your actions more deliberate. You start noticing that you no longer tolerate things that drain you. You make decisions faster. You say no more often. You create space for new opportunities. And that's when you realize you're not stuck anymore. You've simply outgrown the life that matched your old habit. Breaking patterns isn't about fixing yourself. It's about freeing yourself. You're not broken. You've just been repeating what's familiar. The moment you choose something different,
you begin to rewrite your future. Every time you act with awareness instead of impulse, you reclaim control over your life. That control gives you power, confidence, and peace. You don't have to change everything today. You just have to start noticing. Every pattern you break makes room for something better. Every time you say, "This ends with me," you're choosing growth. You're proving to yourself that you don't have to live by yesterday's rules. You can learn, adapt, and move forward, one new choice at a time. That's how real transformation begins. Not in big leaps, but in the quiet, powerful decision to stop living the same day over and over again.
Chapter 4. Build self-respect through small daily wins. Self-respect is not built overnight. It grows through the quiet victories that no one sees. The small promises you keep to yourself, the decisions you make when no one is watching, the moments you choose growth over comfort. Every time you follow through on something you said you would do, you add another layer to your self-respect. You begin to trust yourself more. You start believing your own words again. The person who can trust themselves is unstoppable. The problem is that most people wait for big achievements to feel proud. They want the promotion, the recognition, the applause. But real self-respect doesn't come from those things. It comes from doing the small, unglamorous tasks that build discipline. When you wake up early instead of sleeping in, when you complete the workout even though you're tired, when you sit down to learn instead of scrolling through your phone, those are the wins that build the foundation of confidence. The human mind remembers effort. It knows when you're avoiding what matters. It also knows when you show up. Each time you take action that aligns with your values, you strengthen the connection between who you want to be and who you actually are. That alignment creates self-respect. When your actions match your intentions, you start walking taller. You stop seeking validation because your sense of worth is coming from within. Small daily wins don't look exciting, but they compound quietly. Think about it. Brushing your teeth doesn't feel like an achievement, but doing it every day keeps your health intact. In the same way, small acts of discipline keep your character intact. If you treat yourself with respect in small choices, you naturally begin to expect more from yourself in bigger areas. The little things teach your brain that you can rely on you. People lose self-respect when they stop keeping promises to themselves. They say they'll start eating better, but don't. They say they'll read more, but never open the book. Each time they break a promise, they chip away at their self-trust. It's not the size of the promise that matters. It's the consistency of keeping it. When your word stops meaning something to you, confidence fades. To rebuild that trust, you have to start small again and prove yourself right, one action at a time. You can't build self-respect through pretending. You build it through effort. It's the satisfaction of finishing what you started, even when you didn't feel like it. It's showing up on the hard days, not just the easy ones. The smallest actions, making your bed, organizing your space, finishing a task, train your mind to complete things. Completion builds momentum, and momentum builds pride. There's something powerful about winning small battles daily. You begin to notice that your standards rise naturally. You stop tolerating laziness from yourself. You stop blaming luck or circumstance. You take ownership. Each small win sends a message to your brain. I'm capable. That message becomes your belief, and belief shapes everything. Your posture, your choices, your direction. Small daily wins also remind you that progress doesn't require perfection. You don't need to change everything at once. You just need to do one thing right each day. Drink more water. Go for a walk. Study for 20 minutes. Have a meaningful conversation. Write down your goals. Each win is a step forward. The power lies in accumulation. 10 days of consistency change how you feel about yourself, more than 10 bursts of motivation. Your relationship with yourself is built the same way you build trust with anyone else,
through honesty and follow through. When you tell a friend you'll meet them and you show up, they trust you more. When you do the same for yourself, your confidence grows. Every time you complete a small win, you strengthen the bond with your own mind. That's the kind of confidence no one can give or take away from you. Many people underestimate the emotional effect of small wins. Completing even the simplest task releases satisfaction in the brain. It's proof that effort brings reward. The more often you experience that, the more your brain begins to crave it. You start to enjoy the process of progress. You stop waiting for motivation, because the results of consistency become the motivation. That's how a cycle of growth begins, from a single small win. If you've ever felt like you've lost respect for yourself, you can start rebuilding it today. Don't try to fix everything. Pick one small habit and commit to it daily. It could be waking up 10 minutes earlier, writing a page a day, or avoiding negative self-talk. Stick with it for a week. Notice how you feel when you keep that commitment. That feeling is the start of self-respect coming back. It's the quiet realization that you're capable of discipline again. It's easy to forget that self-respect has nothing to do with achievements others can see. It's personal. No one needs to clap for you. You know the difference between effort and avoidance. You know when you're being honest with yourself. That private sense of integrity. That's where true strength lives. You don't have to announce your progress. Your actions will do it for you. Building self-respect also means forgiving yourself for the times you fail. Growth doesn't mean being perfect. It means not giving up when you fall short. If you miss a day, don't turn it into a story of failure. Just begin again the next day. That's how mature self-respect works. Not through punishment, but through responsibility. You take ownership, you correct course, and you continue. Over time, small wins begin to shape your identity. You stop calling yourself lazy, because you have proof you're not. You stop calling yourself inconsistent, because you're no longer quitting. You stop doubting your ability to grow, because you've seen yourself follow through. Your words start to match your actions, and that alignment creates inner peace. When you build self-respect through daily wins, you also gain clarity. You start to know what matters to you. You stop saying yes to things that don't align with your values. You stop chasing approval, because your worth no longer depends on what others think. You begin to respect your time, your boundaries, and your energy. And once you respect yourself, other people begin to respect you too. Not because you demand it, but because you embody it. Self-respect changes how you walk into every room. It changes how you speak, how you handle challenges, and how you recover from setbacks. It's the quiet confidence that says, I can handle this, because I trust myself. You can't fake that kind of confidence. It comes from showing up for yourself over and over again, until it becomes your nature. There's no shortcut to building it. You have to earn it. Every morning is another chance to do that. Start the day by completing something simple. Make your bed, organize your space, drink water, move your body. Those small actions tell your brain, we're starting strong. The rest of your day follows that pattern. Win the morning, and you set a tone of discipline and pride that carries through the hours. No one is too busy to build self-respect. It doesn't take hours. It takes intention. You can do something meaningful in 5 minutes if you commit to it fully. What matters is consistency, not scale. You don't need to prove yourself to the world. You just need to keep proving to yourself that you're growing, that you're showing up, that you're becoming the kind of person you promised to be. In the end, small daily wins do something powerful. They make you proud of yourself again. Not proud because you're perfect, but because you're trying with honesty. That kind of pride is different from ego. It's grounded, calm, and steady. It stays with you even when life gets hard, because it's built on the truth of your own effort. The goal isn't to be better than anyone else. The goal is to be better than the version of you, quit easily, doubted too often, or waited for permission. Each small win proves that you're growing stronger than that version. Over time, that strength turns into unshakable self-respect, the kind that doesn't fade when challenges come, the kind that stands tall even when no one's clapping. That's the quiet power of small daily wins. They build the kind of confidence that lasts a lifetime.
Chapter 5. Learn to outgrow environments that limit you. There comes a time in life when you start to feel that the place you're in no longer matches the person you're becoming. It could be your workplace, your social circle, or even the daily routines you've outgrown. At first it's just a quiet discomfort, a sense that something doesn't fit anymore, but the longer you ignore it, the heavier it feels. Growth has a way of making old spaces feel smaller. When your environment stops supporting your evolution, you begin to feel trapped. Learning to outgrow environments that limit you is not about rejecting people or places. It's about honoring your need to keep expanding. Most people stay in limiting environments because they fear loss. They're afraid of leaving comfort, security, or approval behind. But comfort without growth eventually turns into quiet frustration. You can't evolve while staying attached to things that keep you the same. Every time you choose to stay small to fit in, you trade a piece of your potential for temporary peace. Growth requires honesty, and honesty sometimes tells you, this is no longer where you belong. When you outgrow an environment, it doesn't mean it was bad. It simply means it served its purpose. Maybe it taught you discipline, resilience, or clarity. But every stage of growth has an expiration date. Staying beyond that point drains you instead of building you. Life's seasons are meant to change. The key is learning to recognize when one has ended and having the courage to move forward even when it's uncomfortable. Environments shape identity. If you spend your days around people who avoid challenge, complain about everything, or settle for less, you slowly start to absorb those patterns. It's human nature to adapt to the energy around you. That's why being aware of your environment is crucial. You can have the best intentions in the world, but if you're surrounded by limitations, you'll find it hard to grow beyond them. Growth requires space, mental, emotional, and sometimes physical. You can tell an environment is limiting you when you start doubting yourself more than you used to. You start feeling guilty for wanting more. You hesitate to share your dreams because you know they'll be met with skepticism or small thinking. These are signs that your surroundings are not feeding your growth anymore. Instead of inspiring you, they keep you contained. You don't need to feel angry about it. You just need to pay attention. Awareness is the beginning of freedom. Outgrowing an environment often means outgrowing a version of yourself. The habits that once worked for you might no longer be enough. The people who once understood you might no longer connect with your direction. That's not betrayal. That's evolution. It takes emotional maturity to accept that moving forward doesn't mean rejecting anyone. It simply means you're choosing alignment over familiarity. When you stay too long in an environment that limits you, it starts affecting your mindset. You begin to normalize mediocrity. You stop expecting more from yourself. You adjust your goals to match what's convenient instead of what's possible. That's how potential dies, not through failure, but through comfort. To grow, you have to raise your standards, even when the people around you are content with less. The hardest part about leaving limiting environments is the emotional pull of belonging. Humans crave connection, and walking away from familiar people or places can feel lonely. But that loneliness is temporary. It's the space between where you were and where you're headed. If you can sit with that space without rushing back to comfort, you'll discover something powerful, your own voice. You'll begin to hear your thoughts more clearly, and that clarity will lead you toward better opportunities and relationships. Outgrowing environments also means learning how to handle guilt. Sometimes the people you care about won't understand your need for growth. They might take it personally. They might say you've changed, and they'll be right. But changing isn't a crime. Staying the same when you know you can do more, that's the real loss. You owe it to yourself to evolve,
even if it means walking alone for a while. The right people will meet you at your next level. Growth doesn't always require dramatic exits. Sometimes it's a quiet shift. You stop engaging in gossip. You spend less time on distractions. You start saying no to things that don't align with your goals. Slowly your environment begins to adjust to the new version of you. You don't need to announce your evolution. You just need to live it. Over time, what no longer fits will naturally fall away. Outgrowing an environment can also happen inside your job. You might find that the work that once challenged you now feels repetitive. You might crave more impact, more creativity, or more learning. That's a sign your growth has surpassed your current situation. Many people ignore that signal because they fear instability. But what's truly unstable is staying in a role that doesn't stretch you anymore. You can't expand in a space that rewards staying the same. Sometimes the environment that limits you isn't external. It's the mental space you live in. The thoughts you repeat, the excuses you justify, the beliefs you cling to, they create invisible walls. You can change your surroundings all you want, but if your mindset remains the same, you'll recreate those limits wherever you go. Outgrowing environment starts with outgrowing the mental patterns that keep you small. Challenge your own assumptions. Question the beliefs that tell you this is all there is. That's where transformation truly begins. If you want to grow beyond your current environment, start by expanding your exposure. Read new ideas, listen to different perspectives, and meet people who live at the level you want to reach. Exposure changes perception. When you see what's possible, your mind refuses to go back to small thinking. You begin to expect more from life, and that expectation pushes you toward environments that can sustain your growth. You also have to recognize that some environments grow toxic, not because they're inherently bad, but because you've outgrown their rhythm. What once energized you now drains you. The conversations that once inspired you now feel repetitive. The goals that once felt big now feel basic. This is your growth trying to tell you it's time to move. Don't ignore that message. If you do, frustration will keep building until it turns into burnout. Leaving a limiting environment isn't about running away. It's about running toward your potential. There's a difference between escaping and evolving. Escaping means avoiding problems. Evolving means choosing growth despite discomfort. You're not abandoning your past. You're building on it. Everything you've experienced has prepared you for the next level, but you have to be willing to step into it. The people who grow the most in life are the ones who are brave enough to say, I don't belong here anymore. They don't wait for approval. They don't need everyone to understand. They listen to that quiet inner voice that says, there's more for me. That voice is your instinct for growth. Ignoring it is one of the greatest causes of regret. Listening to it is one of the purest forms of self-respect. You'll know you've found a growth-supportive environment when you feel inspired instead of drained. You'll notice that conversations lift you, not limit you. You'll feel encouraged to dream bigger, instead of being told to stay realistic. You'll be around people who celebrate your improvement, instead of feeling threatened by it. That kind of environment doesn't just change your career, it changes your entire sense of possibility. The journey of outgrowing environments never ends. As you continue to evolve, you'll keep reaching points where you need more challenge, more learning, more depth. Instead of fearing that process, start welcoming it. It means you're alive. It means you're expanding. It means you're refusing to settle for less than your potential. Growth doesn't ask for permission. It asks for courage. When you look back years from now, you'll see that every time you outgrew a limiting environment, it was a turning point. Each time you chose to walk away from what no longer served you, life opened new doors. What once felt like loss will feel like liberation. You'll realize that the courage to move forward was the greatest gift you ever gave yourself. The moment you start to feel like you're shrinking to stay in a place, remember this: you weren't meant to fit forever. You were meant to evolve continuously. Growth will always demand more space, more challenge, more honesty. So when life whispers that you've outgrown something, listen carefully. That's not a sign of failure. It's a sign that your next chapter is waiting. Chapter 6.
Put your peace before your job pressure. There comes a point where the constant noise of deadlines, messages, and meetings starts to take something valuable from you, your peace. You may not notice it at first because it happens quietly. You wake up thinking about unfinished tasks, you eat with your mind still at work, and you go to bed carrying the weight of things that don't belong in your dreams. Slowly, your peace becomes the price you pay for your job. But no job, no matter how successful, is worth your inner calm. Peace is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Without it, success loses its meaning. People often confuse busyness with productivity. They believe that the more they do, the more valuable they are. But that mindset creates exhaustion, not excellence. A tired mind makes poor decisions. A restless heart can't create meaningful work. Peace isn't the absence of responsibility, it's the presence of balance. It's knowing when to work hard and when to step back. It's learning to be fully present where you are instead of being everywhere mentally. Putting your peace before your job pressure doesn't mean you stop caring about your work. It means you stop letting your work control your life. You can be ambitious and peaceful at the same time. In fact, the people who achieve the most over time are the ones who protect their energy. They understand that you can't pour from an empty cup. If you constantly drain yourself to meet expectations, eventually there's nothing left to give. Peace begins with boundaries. Without them, everything becomes urgent, and you lose control of your time. Set limits on how much of yourself you give to your job. Don't check work messages at every hour. Don't let unfinished tasks invade your personal space. Learn to say no without guilt. Boundaries aren't selfish, they're healthy. They teach others how to treat your time and teach you to respect your own well-being. Many people are afraid to slow down because they think it means falling behind. But running endlessly, without rest, doesn't take you forward, it takes you toward burnout. You can't think clearly when you're exhausted. You can't grow when you're constantly reacting. When you make peace your priority, you start making better decisions. You see things from a calm mind instead of a stressed one. Clarity comes from stillness, not speed. Job pressure often feeds on fear. Fear of losing your position, fear of disappointing others, fear of not being enough. That fear makes you overcommit, overwork, and overlook your health. But fear-based work is never sustainable. It drains your confidence and your joy. The truth is, no job will ever give you lasting peace. Peace is something you create by how you manage yourself. It starts with deciding that your mental and emotional health are non-negotiable. You don't have to respond to every email the moment it arrives. You don't have to say yes to every request. You don't have to prove your worth through exhaustion. Real professionalism isn't about being constantly available, it's about being consistently effective. You perform better when you're rested, centered, and focused. Peace improves performance. It helps you bring clarity and creativity to your work, qualities that pressure destroys. There's a deep difference between working hard and working endlessly. Working hard is purposeful, it's focused effort. Working endlessly is survival mode. It's when your worth gets tangled with your workload. You begin to believe that the more you sacrifice, the more valuable you are. But that belief is dangerous. It turns your job into an identity and your fatigue into a badge of honor. You're not defined by how much you do. You're defined by how well you live while doing it. Putting peace first also means paying attention to your body. The body always tells the truth. The tight shoulders, the constant fatigue, the headaches, the racing thoughts, they're all signals that something's off. Your body knows when it's overwhelmed even if your mind denies it. Listening to those signals early prevents burnout later. You don't need a crisis to start taking care of yourself. You just need awareness and consistency.
You can't wait for your job to slow down to find peace. You have to create moments of peace within the chaos. Take short breaks to breathe deeply. Step outside for a few minutes and feel sunlight on your face. Disconnect for a while after work. Create evening routines that help your mind unwind. Peace isn't found in grand vacations. It's built through small daily moments of stillness that remind you you're more than your role. Some people think choosing peace means giving up ambition, but that's not true. Peace is what allows ambition to last. When your mind is calm, you think long-term, you plan better. You avoid mistakes made from stress or ego. You work smarter, not harder. Ambition without peace turns into obsession. Ambition with peace turns into mastery. One destroys your health, the other builds your legacy. When you make peace a priority, you also start viewing success differently. You stop measuring it by how busy you are, and start measuring it by how fulfilled you feel. You begin to see that a good life isn't one filled with constant work, it's one filled with balance. Moments with people you love, quiet time for reflection, energy to pursue what matters. A peaceful life doesn't mean an easy life, it means a life where you choose what deserves your energy and what doesn't. If your job constantly consumes your thoughts, it's time to create separation. Leave work at work. When the day ends, let it end. Train your mind to shift focus when you walk out the door. The world outside your job needs your attention too. Your family, your health, your passions, those areas give meaning to your life in ways work never can. Protect them. When you nurture life outside of work, you become more balanced inside of it. Sometimes peace requires difficult choices. It might mean turning down opportunities that demand too much of your time. It might mean setting boundaries with a demanding boss or re-evaluating a career that's costing your well-being. These choices are not easy, but they are necessary. No paycheck can replace your peace of mind. No title is worth losing your joy. Success should add to your life, not consume it. It's important to remember that pressure often comes from within. We create unnecessary stress by expecting perfection, by trying to please everyone, or by setting unrealistic standards. The more you chase approval, the less peace you have. Start practicing self-compassion. Allow yourself to be human. You can strive for excellence without punishing yourself. Give your best, then rest, knowing that's enough. When you protect your peace, people might not understand at first. They might see you as less dedicated or less ambitious, but with time, they'll notice the difference. They'll see the calm in your presence, the focus in your work, and the strength in your decisions. You'll become an example of someone who succeeds without self-destruction. That quiet confidence is more powerful than any external recognition. A peaceful person works with clarity. They handle challenges without panic. They make choices without fear. They know when to stop, when to breathe, when to recover. Peace gives you perspective. It reminds you that your job is just one part of your life, not the whole of it. When you see life through that lens, stress loses its power. You start managing your job instead of letting it manage you. Peace will cost you certain things: your people-pleasing habits, your overthinking, your addiction to constant doing. But what you gain in return is far more valuable: mental stability, emotional balance, and the ability to live with calm confidence. Peace isn't weakness, it's strength under control. It's the ability to face pressure without losing yourself in it. At the end of every day, your mind deserves rest, and your heart deserves stillness. You don't have to earn peace by achieving something big. You just have to give yourself permission to have it. When you make peace your priority, you begin to see that a calm life isn't boring. It's powerful. It gives you control, focus, and happiness that lasts longer than any job reward. So work hard, yes, but not at the cost of your sanity. Meet your responsibilities, but also meet yourself with care. Protect the part of you that dreams, laughs, and breathes freely. Because when your peace is intact, you don't just perform better, you live better, and a life well lived will always mean more than a job well done.
Chapter 7. Strengthen discipline when motivation fades away. There are days when motivation feels strong and everything flows easily. You wake up excited, ideas come naturally, and progress feels simple. But then there are the other days, the ones where getting out of bed feels heavy, where energy disappears, and where nothing inside you feels inspired. Those are the days that truly define who you become. Because growth isn't built on how you act when you're motivated, it's built on how you act when motivation fades. Discipline is what carries you through the moments when enthusiasm disappears. It's the bridge between goals and results. Motivation is emotional, discipline is intentional. Motivation depends on how you feel. Discipline depends on what you've decided. If you rely on motivation to drive you, you'll only act when conditions feel right. But life rarely gives you perfect conditions. You have to build a system that works even when you don't feel like it. Discipline is that system. It's the ability to act according to your values, not your moods. Discipline doesn't mean forcing yourself with harshness. It means training your mind to understand the long-term reward of consistency. It's the quiet voice that says, do it anyway. It's the ability to show up tired, distracted, or uninspired and still put in effort. You don't need to do everything perfectly, you just need to keep showing up. Progress happens in the small, repeated moments, when you do the thing even when your feelings argue against it. The truth is, motivation will always fluctuate. Some days, you'll feel unstoppable, and others you'll feel like quitting. That's normal. The mistake people make is assuming that those low days mean something's wrong with them. Nothing's wrong, you're just human. The difference between those who reach their potential and those who don't isn't found in motivation. It's found in who keeps going when the spark fades. Discipline is built through repetition. Every time you act despite not wanting to, you teach your brain that emotions don't control you. You begin to separate decision from feeling. That separation is where power begins. When you start relying on structure instead of emotion, you become consistent, and consistency, even when small, builds results that motivation alone can never match. The reason discipline is hard for most people is because it lacks the immediate excitement that motivation brings. Motivation gives you a rush, discipline gives you results. The mind craves novelty, but growth demands stability. You have to learn to find satisfaction not just in outcomes, but in the process itself. When you make the process your reward, you stop waiting for motivation to appear. One way to strengthen discipline is to lower the resistance between intention and action. The longer you wait, the weaker your drive becomes. Start before you feel ready. Do something small to get momentum going. If you don't feel like working out, just put on your shoes and step outside. If you don't feel like writing, open your notebook and write one sentence. Action creates energy. Once you begin, the mind catches up. Discipline grows stronger with structure. Build systems that make the right actions easier and the wrong ones harder. Set specific times for your most important habits. Remove distractions that tempt you to quit. Keep your environment clean and focused. The less energy you waste deciding what to do, the more energy you have to actually do it. Discipline thrives in clarity. Chaos weakens it. Another key to discipline is accountability. When you know someone expects progress from you, even if it's just your future self, you're more likely to stay consistent. Keep promises to yourself the same way you'd keep promises to others. Write down your goals and review them daily. Each time you follow through, you strengthen self-respect. Each time you give up too early, you weaken trust in yourself.
The goal is to make your word mean something again. On the days motivation disappears, your mind will start negotiating with you. It will say things like, "You deserve a break," or "You can start tomorrow." This is where awareness matters most. Discipline means recognizing those thoughts for what they are. Comfort talking. Comfort is not your friend when you're trying to grow. It will convince you to stop just when you're getting close to progress. The cure is action. Don't argue with excuses, outwork them. Discipline is not about doing more, it's about doing what matters. When motivation fades, simplify your focus. Don't try to conquer everything at once, just complete one meaningful task. When you do that, momentum returns. That one win gives your brain a signal that you're still moving, and that feeling reignites purpose. You don't need full motivation, you just need movement. Over time, discipline creates emotional stability. You stop being controlled by moods. You don't need to feel inspired to make progress anymore. You build quiet confidence, the kind that says, "I'll get it done regardless." That's the mindset of people who succeed long-term. They don't depend on temporary bursts of energy, they depend on consistent effort. They know that doing what's necessary eventually builds the life they want. It's important to understand that discipline doesn't always feel good in the moment. It's often uncomfortable, repetitive, and unglamorous. But every time you choose discipline, you choose growth. Every repetition builds resilience. Every consistent effort creates strength. It's the invisible work behind the visible result. When you look at anyone successful, what you're really seeing is the result of thousands of disciplined moments when they didn't quit. When you build discipline, you start viewing effort differently. You stop seeing it as punishment and start seeing it as power. Each time you push through resistance, you prove to yourself that you're stronger than your excuses. That realization changes everything. It builds pride. It gives you control over your life. You no longer wait for the right time, you create it. You no longer wait for permission, you act. The relationship between discipline and motivation is simple. Motivation starts the race, but discipline finishes it. Motivation is the spark, discipline is the fire that keeps burning. Most people quit when the spark fades, because they never learn to build the fire. You build it by doing small, consistent acts of follow-through. Even when the outcome isn't immediate, the act itself builds strength. The longer you practice it, the less you rely on fleeting energy. Rest is also part of discipline. It's not about pushing yourself endlessly, it's about managing yourself wisely. Rest when needed, not out of avoidance, but out of respect for your limits. A disciplined person knows how to recharge with purpose, not procrastinate with guilt. They understand that recovery fuels consistence. Without balance, discipline becomes punishment. With balance, it becomes mastery. You'll notice that as discipline grows, your confidence expands. You start trusting your ability to follow through. You stop doubting your capacity to achieve. You become reliable in your own eyes. That's a powerful feeling, knowing that no matter how you feel, you can count on yourself to take the next step. That's freedom. It removes dependence on motivation completely. There will be moments when progress feels invisible. You'll be putting in effort without seeing results yet. That's when most people quit. But those invisible moments are where transformation happens. Discipline is like planting seeds. You don't see growth every day, but that doesn't mean nothing's happening. Keep watering your habit. One day, results will appear, and they'll reflect every unnoticed effort you made. If you ever lose sight of why discipline matters, remind yourself of what life feels like without it. The frustration of unfulfilled goals, the regret of wasted potential, the exhaustion of starting over again and again. Discipline eliminates those feelings. It gives structure to your ambitions and stability to your emotions. It turns dreams into progress, and chaos into clarity. A disciplined person isn't perfect, they're simply committed. They don't wait to feel ready. They understand that showing up, especially on uninspired days, is what builds strength. Discipline is not about doing more than others, it's about doing what you said you would do, even when it's hard. Each time you honor that promise, you reinforce the foundation of your success. Motivation is temporary. It fades with mood, circumstance and fatigue. But discipline endures. It stays when excitement is gone, when the journey feels long, when the results are far away. It's the force that keeps you grounded when everything else wavers. Strengthen it daily. Feed it through routine, action, and purpose. Because in the end, the people who win aren't the most motivated, they're the most consistent.
Chapter 8. Replace validation with deep self-belief. One of the hardest lessons in life is learning that you don't need anyone's approval to feel worthy. From an early age, most people are conditioned to seek validation from parents, teachers, bosses, friends, and now even strangers online. You start measuring your worth by how others respond to you. You begin to depend on compliments, attention, and recognition to feel good about yourself. It feels rewarding at first, but over time it becomes a trap. Because once your confidence depends on external validation, you're no longer in control of it. You hand your peace, your mood, and your motivation to other people's opinions. The goal is to replace validation with deep self-belief. The kind that stays steady even when no one is clapping for you. Self-belief is not arrogance, it's quiet assurance. It's knowing who you are and what you stand for, even when others don't see your vision yet. It's the ability to keep going when approval is absent. People who rely on validation need constant reassurance. People who build self-belief create their own approval through action, discipline, and truth. They don't chase attention, they attract respect by being authentic. The need for validation comes from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of being misunderstood, fear of not being enough. When you live for validation, you shape yourself to please others instead of becoming who you truly are. You hold back opinions, shrink your personality, and settle for less just to fit in. It might keep you comfortable for a while, but it costs you authenticity. Deep self-belief, on the other hand, is built by choosing honesty over approval. It means saying, "I'd rather be real than liked." You can't develop self-belief by reading about it. You build it through experiences, by keeping promises to yourself, facing fears, and handling failure with strength. Every time you take a step without seeking applause, you strengthen your belief muscle. Self-belief is not born from success, it's born from resilience. It grows every time you survive doubt and still move forward. The more you practice independence of thought, the less you need validation to feel secure. External validation feels good because it gives temporary certainty. Someone says, "You did great," and you feel worthy for a moment. But then the feeling fades, and you crave more. That's how dependency begins. You start chasing approval instead of progress. You stop asking, "Is this right for me?" and start asking, "Will people like it?" The problem is, people's opinions change constantly. Basing your worth on something unstable keeps you anxious. Deep self-belief is the opposite. It's stable, quiet, and lasting. To build it, start by learning to validate yourself. Notice your progress. Appreciate your effort. Say to yourself with respect. Stop waiting for someone to tell you that you're doing well. Tell yourself, celebrate small wins privately. You don't need an audience to make your growth real. When you start approving your own journey, external validation becomes a bonus, not a requirement. Another step towards self-belief is becoming comfortable with being misunderstood. Not everyone will get your path, your dreams, or your pace. And that's okay. The stronger your belief in yourself, the less you need others to understand.
You stop explaining your choices and start living them. You stop over-justifying your goals and start pursuing them. Growth sometimes means walking alone for a while, and self-belief gives you the courage to do that without resentment. Comparison is one of the biggest enemies of self-belief. When you constantly measure yourself against others, you disconnect from your own progress. Someone else's success starts to make you doubt your own potential. But no one's journey is identical to yours. They might be ahead in one area and behind in another. You're not supposed to copy anyone's timeline. You're supposed to create your own. Replace comparison with curiosity. Ask, what can I learn from this, instead of why am I not there yet? That shift turns jealousy into growth. You can't believe in yourself if you keep breaking promises to yourself. Each time you quit early or ignore your goals, you weaken trust in your own word. Self-belief is built through evidence. The evidence that you follow through, that you keep going, that you handle what comes your way. Discipline is the backbone of belief. When you consistently show up for yourself, you no longer need others to tell you you're capable. You already know. It's also important to separate validation from feedback. Feedback helps you improve. Validation makes you dependent. Feedback says, here's how you can grow. Validation says, you're only good if others approve. Healthy people listen to feedback, but stay grounded in their own worth. They learn from others without losing themselves. They take advice as guidance, not as judgment. That's what self-belief allows, the ability to learn without questioning your value. People with deep self-belief have a strong inner voice. They talk to themselves differently. Instead of saying, I can't, they say, I'll figure it out. Instead of saying, I'm not good enough, they say, I'm improving. That internal language matters more than anything. You live in the world of your own thoughts every day, and if those thoughts are negative, no amount of external praise can fix it. The most powerful validation comes from the way you speak to yourself in private. You don't build self-belief by eliminating doubt, you build it by acting through it. Confidence is not the absence of uncertainty. It's doing what matters, despite uncertainty. Every time you act while scared, you remind yourself that courage is stronger than fear. Each time you take responsibility for your progress instead of waiting for others to notice, you grow in independence. The more you rely on action, the less you rely on validation. There's a calmness that comes from self-belief. You stop chasing every opinion. You stop performing for attention. You become centered. That doesn't mean you ignore others. It means you no longer let them control your direction. You listen, but you decide. You respect opinions, but you prioritize your inner compass. That quiet independence is what separates fulfillment from approval addiction. In a world that constantly rewards appearance over substance, choosing self-belief is an act of rebellion. You're surrounded by systems that measure worth. Likes, followers, titles, salaries. But none of them can measure peace. Peace comes from knowing who you are when those systems disappear. It's in the moments when you're alone, doing meaningful work without applause, and still feeling proud. That's when you realize your value doesn't need proof. Replacing validation with self-belief also means accepting imperfection. If your self-worth depends on being flawless, you'll always feel unworthy. Belief doesn't mean thinking you're perfect. It means knowing you're capable of growth. It's about being kind to yourself in progress, forgiving your mistakes, and learning without shame. When you stop judging yourself harshly, you stop needing others to make you feel enough. The deeper your self-belief, the freer you become. You stop fearing failure because you know it doesn't define you. You stop chasing constant reassurance because you know your worth is stable. You stop hiding your opinions because you trust your judgment. That freedom allows you to take more risks, speak more truth, and live more full. People who live with that kind of confidence don't seek the spotlight. The light naturally follows them. Building self-belief is not a one-time decision, it's a lifelong practice. Every day you'll face situations that test your confidence. Some days you'll doubt yourself, and that's fine. Just don't let doubt drive. Keep reinforcing belief through consistent action. Keep choosing authenticity over attention. Keep doing the right thing even when no one's watching. Each of those moments adds strength to your foundation. When you no longer need others to tell you who you are, you become unshakable. Approval may come and go, but belief stays. You stop overreacting to criticism and overvaluing praise. You stay centered through both. That's what real strength looks like. Stability in a world of constant noise. Deep self-belief turns your focus inward, not in a selfish way, but in a grounded way. It teaches you to value your voice, your pace, and your progress. You begin to trust the process because you trust yourself. And once you reach that level of confidence, the world feels different. Not because it changed, but because you did. The goal isn't to stop caring about people's opinions completely. It's to stop depending on them. You can appreciate support without needing it for survival. You can accept praise without craving it. You can hear criticism without breaking. That balance is what true confidence feels like. Calm, quiet, and steady. In the end, the loudest approval you'll ever need is the one that comes from within. When you wake up and look in the mirror knowing you're living honestly, that's enough. When you can pursue your dreams without constant reassurance, that's enough. When you can handle failure with grace, because your worth never wavered, that's enough. That's what it means to replace validation with deep self-belief, to finally stand in your own approval and know that it's more than enough.
Chapter 9. Create balance that protects your mental health. There comes a point when you realize that no amount of success, money, or recognition can make up for the feeling of being mentally drained. You can only push yourself for so long before your mind starts sending quiet warnings. Fatigue that doesn't go away, constant irritability, restless nights, or that empty feeling even after achieving something. These are not signs of weakness, they're signals that you've lost balance. Mental health isn't just about avoiding breakdowns, it's about maintaining a steady state of peace and strength. Creating balance that protects your mental health isn't selfish, it's survival. It's what allows you to keep showing up with energy, focus, and calm, not just for others, but for yourself. Balance begins with awareness. You have to notice when your life starts leaning too far in one direction. Maybe you're giving everything to your job and leaving nothing for rest. Maybe you're spending all your time caring for others and forgetting your own needs. Or maybe you've become so focused on progress that you've forgotten to breathe. Balance doesn't happen by accident. It's something you build deliberately, decision by decision, day by day. The world rewards speed, but your mind rewards stillness. Constant motion without recovery leads to exhaustion, not success. When you slow down intentionally, you give your mind space to recharge. You start thinking clearly again. Ideas flow easier, emotions settle, and small problems stop feeling overwhelming. The healthiest people aren't those who do the most, they're the ones who know when to pause. One of the main reasons people lose balance is guilt. They feel guilty for taking breaks, saying no, or prioritizing themselves. They believe that rest is laziness and productivity equals worth. That mindset destroys peace. You don't earn rest by exhausting yourself. You deserve it simply because you're human. Taking care of your mental health doesn't make you less ambitious, it makes you sustainable. You can't pour focus, creativity, or kindness from an empty mind. Creating balance starts with redefining success. If your idea of success only includes achievement and not well-being, you'll always feel burned out. Real success means progress that doesn't cost your peace. It's not how much you get done, but how you feel while doing it. It's knowing that you can work hard without losing yourself in the process. When you protect your mental health,
your work actually improves. A calm mind makes better decisions. A rested brain solves problems faster. A balanced person performs with clarity instead of chaos. Boundaries play a crucial role in balance. Without boundaries, everything and everyone demands your time. Learn to say no to what drains you, even if it disappoints people. Learn to disconnect when the day ends. You're not a machine. You don't owe every hour to productivity. Set times for work, rest, connection, and solitude. Protect those times as seriously as you protect your deadlines. Boundaries don't limit your life, they give it structure and peace. A balanced life is built through small daily choices. Start by creating rituals that calm your mind. Morning routines that ground you, short walks that clear your head, journaling that helps you process emotions, or even a few minutes of silence before bed. These moments may seem small, but they anchor your mental state. They remind you that life is not just about tasks, it's also about presence. When your day includes moments of care for yourself, your mind learns that it matters too. Balance also means managing your thoughts, not just your schedule. Many people exhaust themselves mentally without realizing it. They replay worries, overthink conversations, and carry work stress long after hours. That kind of mental overload destroys peace. Train your mind to let go of what you can't control. Focus on what's in front of you, not everything at once. When your attention is scattered everywhere, your peace disappears. When your focus is intentional, your energy stabilizes. The people you surround yourself with also influence your mental balance. Negative, demanding, or draining relationships can quietly wear you down. Protect your energy by spending time with people who add calmness, not chaos. Choose conversations that inspire instead of drain. Balance isn't just what you do, it's also who you allow near your peace. Healthy relationships don't take your energy, they restore it. Another part of balance is learning how to disconnect from work mentally, not just physically. You can leave the office, but still carry stress in your head. That's why it's important to create transitions, small actions that signal your brain that work is over. It could be turning off notifications, changing clothes, or going for a walk. These small cues help your mind switch from performance mode to rest mode. Without them, your nervous system never resets, and stress becomes constant background noise. Taking care of your mental health also means being honest about how you feel. Too often, people pretend to be fine because they're afraid of appearing weak. But silence only deepens stress. Speaking up, seeking help, or even admitting to yourself that you're struggling, that's strength, not failure. You don't have to fight every battle alone. Support from trusted people or professionals can help you regain balance faster than denial ever will. Sometimes balance means making hard decisions. It might mean leaving environments that constantly drain you, saying no to work that crosses your limits, or letting go of habits that feed anxiety. Those choices are uncomfortable at first, but peace always requires protection. You can't heal in the same space that hurts you. It's not about giving up responsibility, it's about giving up what no longer aligns with your well-being. Your body and mind are connected. If one suffers, the other follows. Physical habits like sleep, movement, and nutrition have a direct impact on mental clarity. Neglecting your body creates stress your mind has to carry. A well-rested body supports a calm mind. That's why balance includes caring for both, not as luxury, but as necessity. A strong mind lives inside a cared-for body. It's easy to tell yourself that things will get better when life slows down. But balance doesn't wait for better timing. It starts with boundaries in the middle of chaos. You have to create calm within the storm. Balance isn't found, it's made through the daily discipline of choosing what truly matters over what simply demands attention. The most peaceful people aren't the ones with the least responsibility. They're the ones who know how to manage their energy. They don't give everything to everyone. They know when to push and when to pause. They understand that balance doesn't mean equal time for everything. It means enough time for what keeps you whole. When your mental health is protected, your outlook on life changes. You stop reacting to every stress. You stop overthinking every detail. You start responding with clarity instead of emotion. You become more patient, more grounded, more aware. That state of balance becomes a shield. It doesn't mean life gets easier, but it does mean you become stronger. Balance also teaches gratitude. When you slow down enough to breathe and reflect, you start appreciating simple things again. Quiet mornings, meaningful conversations, moments of rest. Those small experiences bring peace that no amount of work pressure can buy. They remind you that you're not just here to produce, you're here to live. There's no single formula for balance. It's personal. It changes as your life changes. Some days balance means resting more. Other days it means focusing harder. What matters is awareness, knowing what you need at that moment, and giving yourself permission to honor it. Protecting your mental health is not about escaping responsibility. It's about creating harmony between what you give and what you keep. You can't keep sacrificing your peace for progress and expect to feel fulfilled. The two must coexist. You're at your best when your mind is calm, your emotions are steady, and your energy is directed, not drained. If you ever forget why balance matters, remember this: your mind is your foundation. Everything you build stands on it. If it breaks, everything else loses meaning. Protect it before it demands your attention through exhaustion or collapse. A healthy mind will create a healthy life. In the end, creating balance that protects your mental health is an act of respect. Respect for your body, your emotions, your limits, and your life. It's choosing to live with awareness instead of reaction, peace instead of chaos, and calm strength instead of burnout. The goal isn't to do everything, it's to stay whole while doing what truly matters.
Chapter 10. Evolve daily until growth feels natural. Growth isn't something that happens all at once. It's not a single event or a sudden change. It's a slow, steady evolution that happens through small choices repeated every day. When you decide to evolve daily, you stop chasing transformation and start living it. Growth becomes less about trying to change overnight and more about building a lifestyle that naturally pulls you toward progress. The goal is not to force improvement, it's to make growth your default state, something that happens as naturally as breathing. Every day gives you a chance to evolve in some way. It might be learning a new idea, handling a problem better than before, or simply being a little kinder, more patient, or more focused. You don't need to move mountains each day, you just need to move yourself forward. When you build that habit, growth stops feeling like a chore and starts feeling like your way of being. People often struggle with growth because they expect dramatic results fast. They start strong but quit when progress feels invisible. Real growth doesn't announce itself, it works quietly, behind the scenes, shaping your character and refining your habits. The version of you a year from now is being built in the tiny, consistent choices you make today. When you understand that, you stop waiting for big breakthroughs and start valuing daily effort. To evolve daily, you have to let go of perfection. Perfection slows growth because it traps you in fear of making mistakes. But mistakes are part of evolution. You don't grow by getting everything right, you grow by learning from what goes wrong. Each time you fail and reflect, you expand your understanding. Every setback teaches resilience. Every challenge adds strength. That's what makes daily evolution so powerful. It turns ordinary days into lessons. The process begins with awareness. You can't grow if you're not aware of where you stand. Start by asking yourself simple questions each day. What did I learn today? What can I improve tomorrow? What held me back? These reflections keep you conscious. They prevent you from drifting through life on autopilot.
Awareness creates direction, and direction fuels growth. Evolution also requires patience. In a world that glorifies speed, patience feels old-fashioned, but it's essential. You can't rush maturity or mastery. Both require time. The small steps you take daily, reading a few pages, practicing a skill, staying disciplined, might feel insignificant, but they compound into something great. Growth isn't measured in intensity, it's measured in consistency. When you understand that, you stop comparing your pace to others and focus on staying steady. One of the keys to natural growth is curiosity. Curious people evolve faster because they see every situation as an opportunity to learn. They ask questions instead of assuming they know everything. They stay open to change instead of resisting it. Curiosity keeps your mind flexible and your heart humble. It reminds you that no matter how much you know, there's always more to discover. That mindset keeps evolution alive long after motivation fades. Daily evolution also means staying adaptable. Life will keep changing, and you must change with it. The habits, beliefs, and methods that once worked for you might not serve your next chapter. If you cling to them, you stay stuck. Growth requires renewal. It's the ability to update your mindset the way you update your tools. When something no longer works, adjust it without guilt. Adaptation isn't weakness, it's intelligence in motion. To evolve daily, you must stay connected to purpose. Without purpose, routines turn into repetition. Purpose gives meaning to your effort. It reminds you why you're growing in the first place. You're not evolving to impress others, you're evolving to fulfill your potential. Every bit of discipline, every moment of discomfort, every act of learning becomes easier when it's tied to a bigger reason. Your environment plays a huge role in how naturally you grow. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to think bigger, act braver, and live wiser. When you spend time around people who value growth, it becomes contagious. Their habits influence yours. Their energy reminds you of your own capacity. On the other hand, staying in environments that resist change will make growth feel unnatural. Choose your circle with intention. It shapes who you become. Evolution becomes effortless when you stop overthinking and start acting. Many people waste energy planning the perfect start instead of just beginning. You don't need to figure everything out before you move. Clarity comes from doing. Each action teaches you what works and what doesn't. The key is to keep momentum. Even small progress each day builds confidence, and confidence keeps growth alive. Another part of evolving daily is learning to appreciate progress without waiting for perfection. Too often, people ignore their improvement because they're focused on how far they still have to go. But noticing your progress keeps motivation alive. Reflect on your wins, even the small ones. Each one proves that you're not who you used to be. That realization builds belief, and belief fuels further growth. To make growth natural, you must make it enjoyable. Find ways to learn that excite you. Experiment with new experiences. Challenge yourself in areas that spark curiosity. Growth doesn't always have to be heavy or serious. Sometimes it's about rediscovering joy in learning and progress. When growth feels meaningful and enjoyable, it becomes a lifestyle rather than a task. Evolving daily also means managing your energy. Some days you'll have the strength to take big steps. Other days, you'll only manage small ones. That's okay. Growth isn't about perfection, it's about direction. As long as you're facing forward, you're progressing. What matters most is consistency, showing up in some way every day, no matter how small. There will be seasons when growth feels uncomfortable. That's natural. When you evolve, you're leaving behind parts of yourself that no longer fit. You might outgrow old habits, relationships, or environments. It's not easy, but it's necessary. The discomfort you feel is proof that you're stretching beyond your limits. Instead of resisting that feeling, Learn to embrace it. It's a sign that evolution is happening. To keep growing naturally, you also have to nurture your mindset. Growth can't thrive in negativity. You can't evolve if you constantly tell yourself it's too late, too hard, or not worth it. Speak to yourself with encouragement. Believe that progress is possible even when it's slow. The words you use shape the environment inside your mind. Make it a place that supports growth, not one that suffocates it. Gratitude is another powerful tool for evolution. When you appreciate where you are, you build a foundation of growth that comes from gratitude feels light and fulfilling. Growth that comes from comparison or insecurity feels like pressure. Gratitude keeps your evolution grounded in joy, not desperation. It reminds you that you're already enough, even as you work toward more. One of the clearest signs that growth has become natural is when you stop forcing it. You no longer see improvement as something you have to do. It becomes something you simply are. You start noticing that you automatically make better choices, think more clearly, and handle life with calm. That's what daily evolution creates. Effortless strength, built through steady practice. Natural growth also changes your relationship with time. You stop rushing. You understand that transformation is not a race, but a rhythm. Some days bring breakthroughs, others bring lessons, and both matter equally. When you align with that rhythm, you find peace in progress. You no longer measure your worth by speed. You measure it by depth. Evolution is not about becoming someone new. It's about becoming more of who you truly are. Each day removes a layer of fear, doubt, or habit that hides your potential. When you evolve daily, you're not trying to fix yourself. You're uncovering yourself. Growth becomes a return to your natural state, confident, capable, and clear. If you stay consistent, you'll reach a point where growth feels automatic. You'll no longer resist learning. You'll welcome challenge as opportunity. You'll handle change with ease. That's when you'll know evolution has become part of you. It's no longer something you chase. It's who you are. Life will keep testing that growth through challenges, setbacks, and unexpected turns. But when you've built the habit of daily evolution, you'll handle it all with grace. You'll adjust, learn, and keep moving. Because growth, once natural, never stops. It doesn't depend on motivation or perfect conditions. It's woven into how you think, act, and live. Evolving daily until growth feels natural is the highest form of mastery. Not because it's dramatic, but because it's sustainable. It means you've reached a level of awareness where you no longer need to force change. You embody it. You live each day as proof that steady progress beats sudden perfection. That's how you build a life of purpose, one small intentional evolution at a time.